Hello and welcome to another episode of Mentor Musings. I'm JC, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Brett. Hey, Brett.
Hello, JC. How are you this week?
Great Friday, and excited to get on another episode here with you. So, Brett, one of the things that I thought would be interesting to talk about that seems to be a recurring theme recently with some of the founders I've been speaking with is this idea that when you start a business, you're expected, at least ostensibly, to know the answers to everything and to be able to do everything, to wear all of those hats. For a lot of founders, they tend to struggle with kind of executing the tasks at hand if they happen to kind of intersect or kind of go into gaps of knowledge areas where they've never experienced it. So one of the things that I thought would be interesting to talk about is personal development, and how even though when you start a business and you're expected to know all of the answers and to have all of these skills, it's important for founders to continue to invest in their own personal and professional development. So just kind of an open question. Let's start there. What are your thoughts on that? How important is it for the startups that you're advising and mentoring, for those founders to continue to invest in that personal development pathway?
Yeah, no, I think it's so important. And once you think you have all the answers, it's going to change, right? Our world is changing so quickly, so dynamically, whether you're on the product side, that's where your knowledge base is, sales, marketing, it's evolving. And I don't think the expectation should be you have all the answers, but know where you can go for the answers. And one of the things I like to do is be dangerous in all areas. So I know enough, but I still know I need to ask questions. And I think the ability to continue learning is important. And I know it's tough. Look, you're starting a business, your head's down, you got to figure it out. But finding that balance to keep the outside perspective is critical. I've got some thoughts on the best ways to do it, but I'd like to, get your 2 cents on, what your kind of advice and recommendation to founders and how to approach this.
Yeah, it's tough because on the one hand, yes, you need to continue to invest in your personal development and by extension, recognize where your shortfalls are. Don't gloss over, don't sheen over, where you may not be really strong or in areas where you could use some development and some growth. But you also can't use that as a reason to hold you back. You don't want to use and look at all of the things that you don't know. Like in my world, a lot of this is with founders who aren't technical, right? Who have a technical idea or using technology. They think, well, I need to learn how to become a coder. I need to learn how to actually develop this. And that is almost always not the answer.
Right.
Also, what is not the answer is them not stepping forward or not taking that step forward on something like technology just because they don't have that knowledge. So it's a balance where you need to really think about and assess where first, are kind of these knowledge gaps for me personally, and then start to address, well, what does that mean? Do I need to know where to access the knowledge, or do I need to actually have that knowledge and skill in hand? So I definitely recommend laying those kind of areas out first, but don't use those as an excuse to not step forward.
Yeah, and that's really good advice. And the one thing that I found impactful, and actually ironically I had a conversation this week, is getting yourself even into some sort of peer group, right? I think we were in high school way back in the day, peer group was a necessary evil. You had to go do it. But what I'm finding is being able to put kind of like-minded folks or people that are in the same path in their journey together and be able to talk to each other transparently, authentically, is a huge advantage. And maybe that's borderline personal developer not, but I think it's a critical component. I mean, look at on the high end, like Vistage for business owners, right, to get together and talk about those types of things, their businesses. But I think at a smaller level, and I think there's a gap in this marketplace right now for startup founders, and I live in the B2B world, I know for a fact that there isn't really a community for those types of folks. So again, long-winded answer to C, man, if you can find other folks that are kind of in the same stage of the journey or a little ahead or a little behind, I think there's a ton of value in that. I don't want to call it networking, but sharing, right? And talking about the experiences. I think it'll just from a mind standpoint helpful, but also from a learning and understanding perspective, it can be huge.
Yeah, there's such a vulnerability with admitting where you're not strong, and for founders who already deal with this, imposter syndrome that everybody keeps talking about, where you're constantly questioning yourself through all stages, by the way, not just in the earlier ones, but even in the later ones, when you would think there's no way you would question, whether or not you belong here. there's a vulnerability to being able to admit that. And I love your point about, leveraging that fraternity of founders that we talk about, and just going to your peers and contemporaries and saying, look, are you experiencing this as well? And just being willing and able to admit that vulnerability. And I'll say this too, a lot of times people are worried about, highlighting to investors what it is they're not able to do, and they think that that's going to reflect poorly on them, or maybe the investor won't be interested in getting involved, or maybe an advisor won't. I think there's actually power in that, because it's very contrarian to kind of admit where your shortfalls are. Some of the best pitches I've ever seen have been from people who get up and just admit, hey, I am not a public speaker, and they kind of let themselves be vulnerable in that, and it invites people in to want to help them and kind of guide them through the process. So definitely finding a way to open up to others, and I think opening up to your fellow founders is an excellent pathway. I agree with you. I think it's a really overlooked part of the market. Brett, any final thoughts or tips that you would suggest to a founder as they look to prioritize their own personal development pathway while they launch their venture?
I think the other thing, whether you like podcasts, blog posts, books on tape, whatever, listen to something that's going to help you think about the future. I mean, I think more than ever, and kind of touched on it earlier, the world's changing quickly, and the more you can keep an open idea to where it's going, it's going to help your business. It may not seem like there's a specific tie-in at the moment, but keep an eye at least on the macro trends of where things are going, because if you don't, you may find yourself in 6 months in a business that's no longer as relevant as it was. So that's probably a whole other topic, but I think it's just, keeping head down on your business 100%, but also keep the world open because it's changing.
Yeah, be vulnerable, be aware, and then embrace where you need to develop and grow more. And that's going to be a pathway to success. So we'll end it there, Brett. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, stay engaged with us. And as always, best of luck with your ventures, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Oh!